All right, welcome Star City Blood Bowl League coaches to the round 3 update for the Star City Blood Bowl League Season 8. I have the coach of the Southeast Purple Haze, Bob Haley, here.
Hello, everybody.
There you go. And so what we're going to do is just kind of go through how the round 3 went, and look ahead to round 4, look at the honors and the league leaders, and then we'll kind of do our predictions on what we think will happen. So um, I guess first things first, we always start off on the top division, which is the Blue Ridge division. Right now, the Southeast Purple Haze took the top place, so congratulations, Bob. They have a perfect record of 3 wins and no losses. In second is my team, the Vampires, surprisingly, I think, with 2 wins and a draw, although I think their schedule is going to get significantly harder for the rest of the season. So that may be all they win is these first couple games. We have Roland. Roland overtook from I think 5th place up to 3rd, and then we have the Kansas City Dark Elves. And our previous number 1, which was Alex's Northeast Reapers, fell 4 spots to the 5th place. So those are the teams that are kind of, we'll say, switching back and forth a little bit of where they are in the standings. And then we have the Oathbreakers, Corned Beef, District Decimators, the Dodgers, and the Marlin Bay Marauders. So I guess, for me, one of the things I see is obviously, Bob, your team is, playing really good offense right now. They've scored 8 touchdowns in 3 games, which is pretty good. It's almost 3 touchdowns a game. Given up 3 touchdowns, which I think most of those were in the first week. 2 were in the first week.
Yeah,
And then, it looks like everybody else is playing pretty good defense in these top 5 spots or so, only allowing 1 or 2 touchdowns otherwise. And then it falls off a little bit from there. We still have 2 teams that are yet to score a touchdown. That is the Death Dodgers and the Marlin Bay Marauders. So I know their time is coming soon. But everybody else has at least scored once in this time. Um, the main team that's right now leading the casualties is pretty much by a long shot in our division, which is the Malice Powboys. They have a +8 net casualty right now, so they're beating people up, and their armor 10 is holding up pretty well thus far.
I think with them being orcs really tells that tale.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
that they're going to be tough. So
Yep. So most everybody, like I said, we have 2 tier 2 teams and 2 tier 1 teams in the top 4. And so we'll kind of look at the next division here, which is the Mill Mountain. So the Mill Mountain also has a team which is running a perfect record of 3 wins, no losses, which is the full Skaven version of your team with the passing pathogens. They have a total of 9 touchdowns scored, so they have 3-0'd every opponent they've played so far, and not allowed a single touchdown. Um, I think the Blackwater Prowlers have moved up into 2nd place um, with the win last time over, I can't remember who they played. The Boxart Barons, I think, is who they played. And then the Talbine Valley Titans kind of bounced back from the draw they had against the Prowlers, getting a win. And then we have the Black Pyramid Sentinels and the Thunder Mountain Rampage just in 4th and 5th place. The Thunder Mountain Rampage at this point are a full win behind, catching up to 4th. But, you know, things can happen, I guess. I think the race is a little bit closer here, but most everybody's still a full win out now from catching up to getting up into these upper 5 spots.
I believe the Rampage still has to play the Sentinels, if I'm not mistaken. So
Or
that
they played this week. They tied.
oh, has that happened?
Yeah, they
Okay,
tied 1-1. So that was the draw here that each of them got. I really
okay,
thought that the Thunder Mountain Rampage would have that one, but things happen, right? Cindy,
right.
Cindy did well, or not well.
That's right. She bombed herself.
She bombed herself. Um, we just have one team looking for a score. This is the Stinky Skinks. Um, but everybody else has scored. Like I said, pretty good net casualties at the top, or net touchdowns. Casualty wise, this one is being led by the Rampage at a +9 net. And that is probably the most noteworthy stuff. There's three tier two teams in the top here with just one tier one. Both redrafts are in the top four of each division, so that's maybe something to note. As you know, we want to really see. I want to see how this goes as far as the competitiveness of redraft versus newly drafted teams. I think the boost we gave new teams helped bridge the gap a little bit. I mean, obviously we've seen a couple ties or even well, I mean, I guess draws against redraft teams. They haven't lost yet, but I think it made it so that there was a chance for them to lose. I think a fresh 1 million team would be pretty tough against a redraft.
I agree. I think the that assessment's accurate. I think also keep in mind the four redraft teams were also playoff teams from the
Yeah,
previous season. So not only are they redrafted, but they were successful.
successful
So
redrafted. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
so that's also something to keep in mind.
Yeah. All right. I like to jump into the honors next. So I kind of look at the team honors, and then we'll jump over to the upcoming matches and kind of do a little analysis there. So as far as I can see, most of the teams we have in the top five are around 1,200 to 1,250 team value. Um, the passing pathogens are kind of the anomaly in that they're around 1,350. The Cowboys are around 1,270. But I think most everybody's flirting around 1,200 for the most part for their team value right now. Most fame right now, the passing pathogens have the ever so sought dedicated fans of 7. You're at 6 right now. I think you were at 7 until last season. So I think you're just looking to roll that 6 to get yourself up there at
Yeah,
this point. Um,
yeah. I had it most of the season last year, and
yeah,
then my loss in the playoffs cost me one. So
I think a lot of people underestimate how valuable these dedicated fans are as far as giving yourself some money. I mean, you've guaranteed yourself like 30K every match just
oh
by,
yeah,
having these dedicated fans.
it's beneficial, especially when you're playing a fragile team like I am. You need the extra boost. So I think it also is going to benefit the path and pathogens as well.
Yeah.
Um, when he starts to take casualties from Skaven armor, it's going to help him reload.
Yeah,
So
it might make it to where you can do some things and sacrifice some Skaven linemen that you would maybe be hesitant to just because you can afford to replace them immediately following the match. So you might base up that big guy to hold him in place or something like that, where you may be like, do I really want to do that yet?
right,
So the
exactly,
the next thing we have is the most experience as far as SPP. I mean, there's no real competition here. The redraft teams obviously have a little bit of a boost there. The newest team, which is the Blackwater Prowlers, a new team, is about halfway behind the next leader as far as redraft team goes. Um, so I mean, we're I don't want to say catching up, but there's a gap there, which we obviously knew existed.
right.
Best performance, your team is sitting on top with 37 of whatever this really means. I've always laughed at this metric of touchdown casualties, completions, interceptions, injuries, deaths, and fouls. Because I
Yeah,
guess injuries count
yeah.
against
Well,
you, but for you.
but also fouling. So like Tater Cackerfowl last season kind of thumped his nose at this metric
Yeah,
with
yeah. I
all of
mean,
his fouls.
yeah, he had like 30 something fouls or something. So yeah, I mean it definitely
Right,
makes it inflate from fouling a little bit. I mean, even the snotling deaths
right.
will get you up there a little bit too. So it's almost like your own team dying actually works for you in some ways in
Yeah,
this
well,
metric.
At least it
Um,
counts for something,
it
right?
counts for something. Yeah. Most scorer right now, we got the passing pathogens with 9 as a team, Purple Haze at 8, three teams or two teams at 7, and then the Nightcrawlers at 6. Best defense. So far we just have one team that has not been scored on yet, and that is the passing pathogens. Most beast, we have two teams sitting with the most casualties caused. That's the Rampage and Salt Life, the Corn team. Most injured is the Fuzzy Teeth Fingerlings, which is a Norse team. So, I mean, pretty 8 plus armor. The Noblars, probably from the Ogre team, give the 10 here for the injuries on that team. And then as far as deaths go, there's been quite a few deaths. Some of these teams have had multiple players die. The Fuzzy Teeth Fingerlings, the Northeast Reapers, Stinky Skinks, and the Sentinels have all had 2 players die on their team, which is pretty brutal. Um, and then most dirty player, that is you, fouling with your Snotlings, I'm sure, an occasional Goblin here and there. You've also been caught fouling the most as well. And then most completions right now, you have almost double the next person behind. So 7 completions. Best stunty team is the District Decimators. I imagine they'll hold on to that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going anywhere.
Yep. Um, Best run consecutive wins, like I said, it's the Purple Haze and the Pathogens. And then the worst run right now, the Death Dodgers and the Marauders, the Stinky Skinks have all lost 3 games in a row. So hopefully looking to break those streaks as well. Um, I guess looking at player leaders right now, Patrick Mahomes, most MV or highest paid player that's not a big guy, Sneak Scuttle Spikes at 205. And then we have a werewolf, bull centaur, a vampire blitzer, and a regular dark elf blitzer, about 20, 30K behind. Most expensive big guy right now is Bradley Deathguard Hawken, which is blood spawn for Salt Life. Um, right now, the most valued stunty are pretty much skinks, but they're unskilled skinks. So really, they're just base costs. So there's no really impressive people in there yet. Most experience right now, Sneak Scuttle Spike has gathered 21 SPP this round. I think one of the surprises for me, and this isn't really on purpose, I think it's just kind of accidental. I just get lucky to actually bash something. But Elizabeth Bathroy has 17 SPP. Manfred Behrend with the Titans human team has 16. And then we have a couple players with 14 apiece. One is on your team as well. So 2 of your players are in the top 5 of the most SPP gained. Best performance is Flick's Lateral with his completions. And I think he scored his first touchdown, second
Yes,
touchdown ever, maybe first or second touchdown is since his existence, because I guess Sneak got most of those, and I remember looking and being like, "Oh man, I think it's like his second touchdown ever scored."
right.
So
And he got a casualty too, I believe.
okay, so there you go. Most score right now is Sneak Scuttle Spike with 7 touchdown score. Lucian von Wigglebutt and Tetanus each have 4 apiece. So there's that. I think the surpriser there, Grack, the thrower for the Orcs, has 3. So I think that's a surprise for me. Most beast, there's a Vampire Blitzer and Angus Grudgebear for the Rampage, each have 5. Most injured, Mort, the Noblar lineman, and Bartholomew, the other Noblar lineman, each have been injured twice. The vegan one for corned beef has been hurt a couple times. But I guess the moral of this list, aside from Duke Wavebreaker, is these are, you know, 5 plus, 6 plus, 8 plus, whatever armors, pretty low. Most MVP right now, Dongo has gotten 3 MVPs in a row in 3 games, so that's pretty good. I think the odds of that are pretty small. Most dirty player right now, you can tell me this guy's name. Ederep. Ederep.
Interrupt. Yeah, he's just some random guy come off the street. I don't know his name either. He shouldn't
Yeah.
be around long. So
Yeah. So he's got 5 fouls so far. Most sent off. So Chameleon Skink for the Skinky Skinks has been sent off twice. And then completions is Flick's Lateral. So there is the leaders so far. Um, I guess looking at the fixtures, I was going to kind of just mention a couple of these games, at least in my opinion, I was surprised by based on our last prediction. One of them is the Malice Cowboys taking down the Reapers, 2-0 to say the least. So, Alex was our leader last at the division on the last update. And I think that it was going to be a tough match for them, but the Cowboys were down a blitzer, they were down a biggin, so they weren't even playing with all their positionals and were able to edge out a 2-0 over the Reapers. I think that one was very surprising. Um, and then the other ones down here, I think the Blackwater Prowlers coming out on a 3-0 victory. I didn't really expect that, especially because, the Box Art Barons with their stand firm and all that stuff could have really slowed down um, the Necromantic. And then the other one of this was I like seeing the Fuzzy Teeth Fingerlings and the Maulers get a draw. I think both of these coaches were pretty evenly skilled, and so it was good to see that one as well. So
I was playing my game at the same time that they had just played the Maulers and the Fingerlings, and they seemed to have a real good game. So it was good to um, see it play out the way it did. So
yeah, yeah, and I think the Sentinels and the Rampage even though it looked like the Rampage were just taking off Tomb Guardians and really actually punching out the Sentinels, it was interesting to see them still be able to score and not be held back by the Dwarves. Because I really thought this one was going to go to the Dwarves on a 1-0, 2-1, whatever. But the Dwarves are just slow, so if you allow one
yeah,
touchdown, it's hard to come back from it. So.
right. Speaking about the match of the week last week between the Cowboys and the Reapers,
Hmm.
I'm too was surprised at that outcome. Although uh, Roland, he had taken a break for a while, but he is a good coach.
Yeah,
So the fact that he was able to adapt to the new rules and use orcs at a less than full strength, that was a pretty impressive win because Alex is a great player in his own right. So
yeah,
for him to get a 2-0 shutout, that was pretty impressive.
yeah. I
So,
think so too. I think so too. It was definitely unexpected.
oh yeah, absolutely. I was shocked.
Yeah. Um, all right. So round four, this is where the fun happens. So we have a really good matchup between the Reapers and the Kansas City team. Um, what we're looking at here is it'll be at the Graveyard Weather. The Reapers are the home team. Pretty evenly as far as inducements go. I don't know if anybody gets any. So he'll get two. So that's 140K. That's 1,300 against Alex's 1205. And is Alex getting any? Alex is fully healthy. So 95K in inducements for Alex in this one. Um, assuming, Ron's not going to spend any money. Um, it looks like, at least from the analysis here, the Dark Elves are playing a little bit better offense than the Reapers are. The Dark Elves are also playing slightly better defense, but the Reapers are hurting more people. But they are getting hurt a little bit more than the Dark Elves have as well. Neither of these teams foul a ton, so pretty evenly matched, really, when you look at this. I'd say maybe the edge goes a little bit to the Kansas Dark Elves as far as what this is predicting. But looking at the Reapers, we have two mighty blows. They do have one tackle, so that white blitzer is going to have to put in some work. Two more mighty blows, so that four total mighty blows, some block dodge side steps of their own, and then a block zombie, and then there's a skeleton for fouling, I'm sure. Three rerolls. Um, the Dark Elves have um, a couple journeymen. They are going to be missing a wrestle lineman, but they do have their own couple tacklers to help take down some ghouls. And of course, their block dodge, sidestep, fin, whatever, all the other things they have. Really, they're relying though on about three skilled up players to do most of the work, though. and you can see that here as far as
I
what you're
think
seeing.
I think it's going to be a tough order
Hmm.
for the Dark Elves. Ron is a great player and very meticulous, so I could see this, you know, being a very tight game.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. As far as predictions goes, I could see this being a 1-1.
Yeah, I could see 1-1. I actually was maybe going to give this one slightly to the Reapers here, only because I think they have the bench for fouling. So they have the 12th player. They got four mighty blows. They do have one tackle. I mean, as long as they, if they get a hit on whoever the ball carrier is that I'm assuming is going to have dodge, it's probably going to be one of these three people. And the tackle can either come into play and you don't just either push them around consistently or just roll, both downs. Then I think they can cause some chaos. The problem is man, it's just so hard to get good hits on dark elves, especially if they're, rolling the two pluses. So I think I'm actually, I mean, I agree it could be close. I don't doubt that it might be a draw. I think I'm actually going to give this one 2-1 to the Reapers at my prediction. So
Okay.
I think they'll win that one. They'll bounce back. So the next one is the Purple Haze and the Powell Boys. This will be a top four matchup here. Looking at offense, you're scoring about 2.3 touchdowns a game. He's scoring about 1.3. He's playing a little bit better defense than you are as far as stopping players go. He's also hurting a lot more people, resisting getting hurt, but he doesn't foul nearly as much as your team is capable of doing. So, looking at what people have healthy wise, he's at 1270. He's got 12 players, so he's not going to be getting any inducements. You'll be sitting at 1230. 1230, you won't be getting any guys as well. So I guess with 1230, you're looking at 40K inducements. So you could be taking a mascot maybe or something like that, but nothing huge. Um, Looking at your team, obviously you have Sneak, Scuttle, Spike. You got Flicks Lateral, Gnaw Toe Cutter. I don't think you have any claws, so that's not going to help so much. Um, but a couple wrestle that you could try and target some orcs to get them on the ground, slow down the other team. You got a two-headed goblin that you could jump in a cage with, and then you'll have an unskilled troll, and then he has mighty blow, a leader block, mighty blow, guard. So he's got a lot of block. He's got 6 blockers, 7 blockers, 1 guard though. 7 blockers, 1 guard, 2 mighty blows. So I mean, no tackle, so that's obviously beneficial in your regard. Um, I guess how do you think this will go?
Well, I'm scared to death of that armor. Obviously,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna try to stay away from um, getting stuck in with them.
yeah,
I'm going to try to take advantage of my speed because obviously I have a whole lot more speed. So if I could spread the field, it's going to help a lot.
yeah.
So depending on positioning, I think this is going to be a similar game to my previous game last week.
Hmm.
Um, I think I'm thinking probably 2-1.
Okay.
I think I can because his fastest player being with orcs being movement 6. It's hard to keep up with movement 9.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he definitely
So
probably want to leave some guys back as safeties. How much money does he have? Would it be worth him buying something? He's only got 40K, so he's not going to be able to buy anything. Um, yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see him wanting to try. I mean, I think he needs the 2-1 grind, right? I mean, he needs to receive. He needs to take 8 turns and beat the crap out of you and hope that you either can't stop him or he can score on turn 8, kick to you. Assuming you score in some capacity, he's either playing for a draw or he's playing for, you try and score fast because you're going for the win, and then he can maybe go down in 3, 4 turns and score.
Right.
I think a lot of it will come down to who wins the kickoff. But I think you're right. It is going to be like tough for him to stop and get good hits on sneak. Unless he just gets a lucky pow or something like that. Like I said, he doesn't have tackle. Um, so I think you'll be fine in this one. I think it looks scarier on paper than it maybe is. I mean, if I were you, I'd probably make sure you're trying your +3 or so fouls whenever you do foul. You know what I mean?
Oh
Make
yeah.
sure if you're going to go after armor, make it a 7+ instead of a 10, or you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So I guess if I was predicting this one, I'd probably say I think you're going to take this one 3-1. Actually, is what I'd say. I'd say you're going to score a few times.
I just I see 2-1 being very similar play as last week's game.
Yeah,
Chaos
against the
Dwarves.
Oathbreakers.
Yeah, they were they had very similar armor,
Hmm.
and that's what I was basing this on. So
Yep. Next up, we got the Death Dodgers and the Oathbreakers. So the Death Dodgers are looking for their first win and for first touchdown. They've lost 3 straight. The Oathbreakers came out strong with a win their first week, but then they fell the last two. Not being able to score a whole bunch. They've only gotten average of a 1.0 for offense. Defensively, they're both playing pretty similar. Brutality, honestly, I guess the Oathbreakers are playing a little bit better, but it's pretty similar. They're both getting hurt about the same degree, and then the Death Dodgers are fouling a little bit more, significantly more. The Oathbreakers haven't thrown a foul yet this year. Um, Looking at what they're up against, two block werewolves, one mighty blow, a guard wraith, which is going to be annoying. I don't see anyone else able to skill up. And then the Oathbreakers are at 1160. They get one more guy, so they'll be at 1200. 3 guard, that's going to be tough to deal with. Um, Kick, block, sure hands, block. So lots of block, lots of guard against really one scary player, which is Mr. Crowley. So Mr. Crowley, I think, is who's going to win the game if the Death Dodgers are going to be able to win it. He's going to have to get some hits in on some dwarves and claw mighty blow them off. I think to have any shot, in my opinion. I think it's I think it's just been hard because they've gotten SPP, but it's obviously been spread out across a couple players, so they're not quite to that point where they're a little bit behind skilling up. Um, Only 15K in inducements isn't going to do much. So I guess what are your thoughts on this one?
um, looking at that lineup, it's I thought it was going to be closer until I
Hmm.
looked at the lineup. That's an awful lot of block and guard.
Hmm.
Um, I feel bad for the Death Dodgers. That's
Yeah.
that's going to be a tough road to hoe. Um, if Rachel can take advantage of her speed on her werewolves, that's about what she could do. Like you said, maybe getting some clawed armor
Hmm.
early, maybe get an advantage early. But if the Oathbreakers get into a cage and just grind it out, it's going to be tough on Rachel.
Yeah, I
So
think so too.
I see I see this probably being 2-0
Yep.
for the Oathbreakers, unfortunately.
Yep, that's my guess as well. I think 2-0 is probably where this one is. So Oathbreakers will bounce back with a win probably. Death Dodgers, unfortunately, will probably continue their losing streak, but maybe they surprise us and get a touchdown this time and get some more
Right on.
SPP. So, all right, next up is the Corned Beef and the Marlin Bay Marauders. So, I've played against both these teams so far. So the Corned Beef have lost their first two, but they won the third. I think that was against the Death Dodgers. And then the Marlin Bay Marauders have dropped their last three, also seeking to get into the end zone for the first time. So looking at this, we got a healthy corn team with 12 players, so that's good. Three corn gores, bloodseekers, no big guy, but haggis, which is the Dodge two heads corn gore, is healthy. And then we have a couple block bloodseekers, a mighty blow bloodseeker, and a block marauder lineman. So 12-10 team value. The Marlin Bay Marauders have been getting beat up pretty good. I don't think they've got enough money to get their fourth Chaos blocker, so they're going to be outstrength from the, comparing blockers to Bloodseekers. Um, Pretty similar team as far as, the Corn Gores are pretty much Beastmen runners. Um, and then they didn't have a lot of luck on their randoms. Disturbing Presence probably isn't going to come into play. Ironheart Skin won't come into play. Um, but they got one guard, an extra arms beastman, two blockers, and a tackle guy. So I think this is going to be a tough one for the Marauders still. 12 10,
Yeah.
or 10 12. So he's going to get 200K, but I think he needs some. He's going to get two journeymen. So it's actually he's only going to get because he's going to get another 120. He's going to get 80K. So he could get Papa Skullbones again. I think that turned out pretty well for him last time. Not there. Papa Skullbones is 80K. I mean, honestly, I might even consider the inaccurate Fireball Wizard just to see if you get lucky, I guess. I mean, it's almost, I don't know, the scattered Fireball versus, I mean, I don't know what the Trundlefoot triplets are. I'm assuming there's some form of biased referee, but I don't see the corn fouling here.
Nah.
So it's probably not worth it. Acorns, I don't know. Probably not for new players to try and negotiate with. So yeah, I'd
If
say
he's
either.
going to stick with one, I
Yeah, I'd
would
say
stick with Papa's Skullbones.
yeah. I mean, it came in handy a couple times. I think the main thing Jack needs to do once he rolls Papa Skullbones is to be thinking about, like I think he rolled prehensile tail tentacles on a blocker at one point, but he was always like not quite putting it in the most effective position to hold down the most vampires or thralls or whatever.
Right.
So it's all about like once you get those mutations, whatever the random ones are, making sure that you then keep that in mind and take advantage of where to put them. Or I think the problem he got one time was that one of his guys got claws. One of his beastmen with just horns got claws and something else. Anyways, he got so hungry with the claws that he started blitzing with the claws guy more often against like block dodgers and things like that he was just looking for casualties that he would get blocked down, or you know what I mean, like instead of
Right.
taking the blitz with the blocker, you know what I mean, he would take it with the guy with claws who didn't have really the tools to take down or to resist a turnover.
Right.
Shad's team's actually a very good team. It's very scary. I mean, the main thing that he'll get hung up on is obviously if he's coming after those blockers and he rolls, both down, then it's going to stop his frenzy. So it may slow him down a little bit, but it'll help him actually prevent getting out of position so much. I think that's the problem with frenzy is before you know it, your guys are spread all over the field.
Well,
Uh,
when I played Chad first game of the season,
mhm.
I was impressed with his mastery of frenzy at that point. He was pretty controlled when I played him.
Yeah,
So I don't know. In
Jack's a
this,
good player. I don't know if you've played Jack yet.
I haven't.
He knows the rules and sets up two die blocks, does the things that a lot of new players that have only played, two or three games haven't quite gotten. So I think he's on a pace for a better than average player. I think that there's just a couple things that he could be doing, and obviously he's had some bad luck. He lost a blocker from death
Right.
recently at his first game. It's stuff like that where sometimes your season's just hard to get going when you've had those early
Right.
deaths.
That's right.
So
Um, so in this one, looking at the lineups, I mean, a fully healthy quarantine, pretty skilled up. Um, I think it's going to be hard to overcome, especially with what they do best. Chaos Chosen, they're not going to be able to bully
Yeah.
Horn, and so unfortunately, I think Horn's going to let the blood flow on this one. I think they're going to win 2-0.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say yeah, I think that it's also going to be a 2-0. It could even turn into a 3-0, but I think 2-0 is probably the right prediction um, for this one. So I agree with you there for Shad.
I think if I think if I was Marauders, I would concentrate when I'm on offense, cage the ball and protect it. If he does that, then possibly could be a 1-1.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really see it 2-0. So
Okay. Well, we'll find out on the 22nd. It looks like they've already scheduled their game. Next, we
yes,
have the
sir.
Ogres and the Vampires. This is going to be a mountainous weather. Um, right now, the Vampires have played pretty well in their first three matches. Honestly, I've not killed anybody yet with my Vampires. I've heard a couple guys knocked out a bunch. But luckily, I've not killed anybody, I don't think yet. I've maimed a couple. Um, right now, the Ogres are struggling a little bit to get some offensive momentum going, but they're playing pretty decent defense, keeping the games pretty close. Um, the Vampires are scoring about 2 touchdowns a game, playing pretty good defense, actually hurting more people than Ogres are, and I think a lot of that's because they're able to take advantage of people that are trying to base them up. I mean, I'll just punch you back off, and you know what I mean. Like, I think
Right.
there's a lot of teams I played recently were very bashy, and so they were just trying to get into your face. You know, it was Corn, it was Chaos Chosen, and then they'd get bashed back and hurt. Versus they wouldn't be able to hurt me back. Um, they still have a lot of nobblers getting hurt, so that's dragging down the resistance of the ogres. Dirty play wise, they're obviously fouling a little bit. I've done a couple fouls, but usually I'm running out of dudes pretty quick to have much foul fodder late in the game. Right now, it looks like the district decimators are rocking a full 6 ogre team right now. It looks like they just bought a new ogre, so that puts them at 1145k. How many players they got? They got 13 players, so pretty full roster. Um, going into this one. Leader, Juggernaut, Break Tackle, Brawler, Pro, and a Sneaky Git. So that is good. Um, the Vampires right now, I'm going to have a couple Thrall Journeymen, one Thrall Journeyman. So I'll be at 11 players. Um, Victor Blaze has got Pro Block. Don Hyde's got Pro Block. Um, Elizabeth Bathroy is a block dodge sidestepper, and Serafina Kalita is a block vampire. Everybody else is unskilled, pretty beat up, considering firing Denny Lucas because he's a movement busted guy. I'm also going to consider firing this guy because I'm wondering at some point if a journeyman thrall that's movement 6 is better than one that doesn't have loner but movement 5. Um, I guess we'll find that out.
Ah,
Nate Beam's going to sit out this match. He's gotten busted up too. He got an angling injury. Um, but I'm sitting at 4 rerolls. I got 80k. I'll tell you, I'm saving up to probably grab a 5th vampire, is my guess, or I'll save up to grab a 5th reroll. I'm not sure which one is better quite yet. Um, kind of go from there. I'd like to have a couple more thralls too, but obviously they get beat up pretty quick. So 1170 team value. I'll be at 1210 with my, and he will be at 1145. So he's going to get some inducements. I don't remember what that is.
does does that
65.
uh, does that reflect his low cost lineman thing?
Yeah, it
Where
does. Um,
okay,
yeah, because these are all zeros here. So that's
I
his
got you.
CTV. All of his big guys are pretty much 150 to 200 a piece. So
Oh, I
they're
see it now.
expensive.
Okay.
Yeah. And with 6, he's sitting at 1100. So he's going to get, like I said, 65k. I'm going to expect to see a bomber, whether it's Bama or Cindy, is probably what I'm looking to see. Um, and my hope is that with my lower agility, if he tries to throw it at my vampires, I can catch it.
Right.
And
Throw it
I mean,
back.
it's a 3+ pass, so not unheard of to throw it back, but it's possible I'll be able to with this team. Versus, when I was Orcs, it's a lot harder to catch and throw. It's probably more catch and fumble, if it even happened at all. So,
Right.
I don't know how this one will go. I mean, obviously my armor's really low. It's 9+ and 8+s. So, I mean, I could get bullied pretty hard by 6 mighty blow. Um, the
I
only
mean,
benefit is I have block dodge, and so
right.
block's obviously going to be able to take advantage of his lack of that. So I might be able to bully
Well,
one or two ogres.
well, the fact that you're strength four, he's not going to be able to get
Three die
three
blocks.
dice. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be harder to do that. Well,
Well, he's
way
always going
harder,
to have
but
a 1 in 9 failure with every
right.
block he throws. So
This is true. I don't know. This is going to be tough. I didn't know he'd picked up a six ogre.
yeah.
Um, that's
I probably would
if
have
he's
bought the reroll first because he's only
if
got
he
two
positions
rerolls.
right. Oh yeah, I got you. Well, doesn't he have a leader?
He does have a leader, yeah. So he's got 2+
Okay.
leaders. So yeah, you're right. Double D
Yeah.
Cherie. Um,
Yeah. So he has a third reroll. If he positions right, I don't know. I mean, I could see it hard. You're gonna at the very least you're gonna have to dodge through some tackle zones.
hmm Yeah.
Um, if he takes bomb or dribble snot, at least once per game, he can detonate the bomb if you catch it.
Yes. Yeah, I
So,
think Bama is better than Cindy just for that. I mean, being able to
right,
throw twice is good. I mean, the downside is he's not going to be able to have a bribe, so she's only going to be on for a drive, unless
yeah,
he argues the call, obviously. But
right. Um, so, and yeah, they're not bribery corruption, so he needs 100K for a bribe, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so no bribe for him. I don't know. I could see this. I could see this being another 2-0 in the Nightcrawler's favor. If if he doesn't bonehead frequently, it could be 1-1.
yeah,
But I watched this last game, and man, he boneheaded a lot.
yeah. Well, I hope
So,
he keeps that up.
well, yeah, I figured. But from what I understand, you're kind of due a couple of animal savageries yourself.
Well,
So,
I've been hitting a bunch of them. I mean, I leave. So I'll tell you what I do to manage animal savagery is if the player can't actually be beneficial right away, I don't put a thrall beside them to punch because I don't. If I'm just going to move
right,
them, I really don't care. You know what I mean?
right,
And if they're a pro vampire, I usually leave them by themselves. So these guys usually
which is
stay
smart.
without a thrall, and then I babysit this guy with the thrall so that they're always activating to block or blitz. Like this is who I block blitz with. This is who I leave by myself. And it's mainly at half the amount of punches I do to my thralls on every turn if things go bad. But ideally, it really only makes me punch one thrall per turn because, I'm blitzing with one of these.
Right.
And so it's a 2+.
Just based on the player skills and everything, I think it's going to be a 2-0.
Yeah.
Um,
I could see,
possibly three if things get out of hand, but I could see a 2-0 here.
yeah. I'm going to give it a 2-1. I think he's going to get a one-turn touchdown on me. I was ready for those to
He
happen.
he actually had an opportunity at a touchdown. Um, last score of his last game was deceptive. He could have scored with Griff and decided to hand off to try to give SPP to a player at the end of the game.
Oh, because he
So
was going to
actually,
lose anyway, I guess.
yeah. So it should have been 2-1 instead of 2-0, I believe.
Hmm.
Whatever the score ended up being.
Yeah,
So that was deceptive. He was trying to actually give it to an ogre, so the ogre could score a touchdown.
I see
And
that. Pitch
so
catch it 4 3 plus or whatever, or 4 plus, I
I
guess catch.
I believe there was something there. Something didn't play out because he was out of re-rolls at the end of the game. But I can understand. I mean, there was no point in Griff scoring a touchdown.
Yep.
It didn't benefit him at all, other than you know mess with the score. So,
Right.
but no, I think he's due. I think you're right. Maybe a 2-1's possible.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely going to go in that favor. I think.
Yeah. I think
So
the block dodge sidestep. I mean, if I can manage the animal savagery, then things are okay. I mean, the problem is everybody was like, well, target the thralls or target the blitzers or whatever. I don't think that works so much anymore since I can animal savagery a vampire. I did that once where I needed to move a guy, and the only person that could get to him was a vampire. So I put that guy up there so I could then move my ball carrier and punch my vampire down. You can. It's no
yeah.
longer you have to feed on thralls, which is nice. So, I mean, obviously vampires are much better with these starting skills. I think if it was just a straight million vampire, oh man, without pro and block and all, I mean, it's pretty tough to play them. Actually, it's probably miserable to play them at a million with no other skills. So, all right. So, I guess looking at the Mill Mountain division. All right. So now we're going to go to the Mill Mountain division. We'll look at these 5 games. So we have the Stinky Skinks and the Black Pyramid Sentinels. The Black Pyramid Sentinels are in 4th place in the division. The Stinky Skinks are the last place team, not scored yet. Um, the Sentinels are doing pretty good. They're playing great defense. Um, Brutally, they're about even. The Skinks are resisting getting hurt a little bit more, and the Skinks are fouling like crazy with just about anybody who can commit a foul. Croxagores, Saurus, whatever. Primordial rainforest weather. Um, I guess the only thing I see happening here is that there is some rain weather, which could obviously hurt the offense of the Tomb Kings for picking up the ball and stuff. There's -1 there. I think there's a couple more rain events in the Primordial Rainforest one. They are missing a Tomb Guardian, their guard Mighty Blow, so that's a pretty big hit. They will have a Journeyman for 40k, so that puts them at 11-10. But it's 2 block throwers, um, Mighty Blow Blitzer, Mighty Blow Tomb Guardian, 2 guard Tomb Guardians. Was it 3? Oh, I'm sorry. There's a unskilled Blitzer and some skeletons. The Skinks have 4 block Saurus, which is good. Juggernaut Crocs. They're sitting at 10 players, so they're also going to get things. So they're at 1100. This one's at 1110, so no inducements for anybody. Really, it's 10k inducements, which isn't enough for anything. So I guess looking at this, obviously I think Tomb Kings are really tough for Saurus because they're out
Oh yeah.
strength and out guarded on the line. So that's going to be the hard part. Um, they are down 2 Saurus, so they're playing not as strong. They only have 4 Saurus, so that stinks. And they can't afford to buy another one, so they probably should. 85k. I would probably buy another Saurus before this next game, but it would give 85k to the other team. They only have 2 rerolls, so they could. Rerolls are 70k for them. What is their
Yeah,
rerolls?
70K.
70. So they don't have enough for that third reroll. That may be what they're saving for. Um,
Honestly, I don't know if he's gotten around to looking at his team yet. He's probably going to buy a source, if I had to guess.
yeah. So there may be
Um,
85k inducements here. What do you
yeah.
have for infamous coaches? Nothing there. I mean, Acorn. Weather Mage might not be a bad idea just to protect yourself from rain all the time. That may be the one inducement. With Tomb Kings, I would
Yeah,
almost always take, just so you could turn the weather off for one turn to pick it up. Um,
yeah.
Mascot would be okay, but not great. I don't know. There's not a lot good. I'd probably just, if I was him and I got the inducements, I would just take Weather Mage and a Babe probably. Um,
Yep.
as far as who would win this, um, I think it's not so much a team thing, so much as a player skill thing for me.
Right.
And I think that this is going to be one that's going to be tough for um, Hunter to pull out. I think it's even though he's got a good team, he's missing some strength. If he had six Saurus, maybe. But I think this is going to be a 2-0 Sentinels over the Skinks, my guess.
I agree with that. My advice to Hunter is I would focus more on trying to score rather than foul.
Yeah.
I noticed he was also playing this last time when I was
Hmm.
playing against Aaron, and there was a couple times that the ball was free. He had an opportunity at the ball, and he chose to foul. And I'm a
Got caught.
fan of yeah, I'm a fan of casualties and fouling, but you also got to look at the ball. You got to try to win. So I would I would suggest he go for the ball more. Um, Probably buy that Saurus to help try to even out the fight. If he does that, potentially be a 1-1. But I see this again being a skill game, coach's skill, and I think Z is going to have the experience in that department. So I think Z is going to probably pull out a 2-0.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd
So
like to see him play. I mean, I've played Lizardman a number of seasons, and I could probably count on one hand how many fouls I've committed, which doesn't mean you shouldn't foul ever. But usually you can't afford to lose the Skinks because they're your ball handlers. You can't
right,
afford to lose the Saurus because they're your only muscle. So I think that, he did handicap himself a little bit. I mean, obviously starting with the Croxagore is fun. It's a big guy. But you lose a reroll and you lose two Saurus by doing so. So it's a pretty big handicap to start with. So
yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone that route, but
right.
again,
You do get
it's
the
different
chameleon skinks.
philosophies.
You wouldn't have got the chameleon skinks. I guess my thing, make sure he's using the on the ball to get under it. Um, shadowing. If you put shadowing on his ball carrier, there's a chance you're faster by one. So you're shadowing on a 5+, right? So there's an odd if he tried to dodge away from you and couldn't hit you away, you might be able to follow him up and force another dodge, something like that. I mean, last ditch effort, you could throw a bunch of chameleon skinks on the ball carrier, in the last turn or two and just hope he can't get away.
Right.
So I guess we'll see. Um, Next team we got. This is a good one. The Prowlers, first place against second place, passing pathogens against the Blackwater Prowlers. Prowlers are playing really good as far as offensively goes. So are the pathogens. Defensively, Prowlers are playing very well. Brutality, they're injuring more people, resisting damage, fouling just slightly less. So, looking at this, the Prowlers are the better performing team right now. They are 100K down in inducements. They have 12 players, so nothing there. They got two guard players, two block flesh golems, mighty blow, a block werewolf, and a blodge werewolf. This guy's 1 point away, and then a pro zombie, which I mean is what it is. Two rerolls, so that's something that slightly hurts them a little bit. Um, and then we got the passing pathogens who have a slew of rats. They did pick up um, a rat ogre, which has gotten some experience. They do have tetanus, which can get a skill, so that's probably sidestep, I guess. Two heads? No, I guess they can't take two heads unless secondary. So probably sidestep.
Yeah,
Here,
I'd probably sidestep.
I would too. Yeah. Sidestep. I got wrestle there. So not, I mean, they got all their eggs in really two players' basket. Tetanus, well, three players. Tetanus and influenza have their offense. I know he's been giving the ball to Tetanus quite a bit lately to help get them skilled up. And then bubonic, which is a mighty blow tackle kick. It's a pretty good skill. It's good random. And then anthrax has guard. Missing that thrower. They just got a thrower back. So
Yeah,
25K. So I'm going to assume that chances are Tetanus is going to skill up that guy. So it's really going to be 120K inducements for the Prowlers instead of 100. So what do you do with 120K? Star players, not much.
yeah.
Mercenaries,
Undead doesn't have much for star players.
yeah. Mercenary Ghoul, maybe. Professor Frankelheim. Oh, but he'd be 130. Oh, that stinks. I like him. None of these
What does
others.
he do?
So he gives you three mutations, and then you get to keep one after. You get a chance to keep it after the game. That's how LaClaw's got horns.
Oh, I thought it was Papa
No,
Surebone.
Papa's Skullbones gives one
Yeah.
player two mutations just for the drive. Um,
Oh, okay.
the Professor Frankelheim gives three players one random mutation, but at the end of the game, you roll a die. If you roll a six, he keeps it. You roll a one, the player misses next game. Um, and then if you roll a two through five, they just nothing happens.
That's a pretty good gamble, in my opinion.
Yeah, to get a free skill. I mean, so that's the play for vampires. You take this Sheelan Charlton, the player agent. He gives your players pro, three players pro, and then at the end of the game, you have a chance to keep them. So when you play vampires, you don't have much pro. It's a way to try and fish some pro out for free.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Horatio Schottenheim is the inaccurate fireball wizard, and honestly, what I would probably do two things. I would probably take extra team training. So you get a third
Yeah.
reroll. I think that's a good pick. Um, with the other 20K, probably you could just take a coach if you wanted to. Um,
Or he could throw 10K with it and get a mascot, right?
well, he can't spend because he's the underdog.
Oh, underdog can't spin. That's right. I
Yeah,
forgot that.
just the overdog. The other thing you'd maybe look at doing. How much is it to give him another skill? I thought about it might be worth it to take a zombie or a ghoul mercenary. If you could afford it, I don't think you could afford a mercenary ghoul and give him a skill. But I think it's how much is it to give him a skill?
Isn't it 40K? Or it's the skill plus 10 or something?
Something like that. So he could, I think, afford a dirty player zombie, which I think might be a good pick too, if he's willing to foul a little bit. Because I think that's going to be a big difference too. If you can, I mean, obviously he's got a couple superstars, but if you can remove some rats, it helps quite a bit. So I would probably, I mean, honestly, I'd probably just take the extra team training, but
Yeah. I think that's the safe bet.
hmm okay,
Because the mercenary stuff, not many people's familiar with it, and I think it might get in some trouble
yeah, yeah, for
trying
sure.
to experiment. So
Yep.
I would do the dream training.
I
So,
guess who do you think wins this one?
oh
Pathogens have
man,
never been scored on. The Prowlers they've rocked a 3-0, 2-0, 2-2. Every time we've picked Pidcock to lose, he plays well. So we either can pick him to
uh,
lose and maybe he wins, or we pick him to win and maybe he loses.
uh, I don't know. He's on a pretty good roll, but so is Maurice. Those rats. That's pretty prolific offense. I guess it comes down to positioning. I think it comes down to if Eric, um, can keep his guys in the right positions,
Yeah,
rather than get pulled out because again, those gutter runners are quick. Um, but you can't sleep on just a normal lineman, movement 7. Throwing to a lineman that can score it out in the open.
Yeah.
Um,
And
Maurice has
Maurice
done
will
that to me
he'll
before.
roll a 3 plus, right? You know what I'm saying? Like he'll
Oh, he'll do a 5 plus.
yeah.
That he is fearless. So I don't know. This is going to be a fun one to watch. The two matches I want to watch this time is this one, and then
Mhm.
I'd like to watch your game.
Oh, okay.
Um,
See if I
I
roll
think
any
those two.
savagery.
Well, just the matchups look good, but
Yeah. Do we place me? Is
this
that what this is?
yeah, I guess, but no, I'm buying time because I don't know who to pick.
Yeah.
I think I think this is going to edge towards the Skaven
Yeah.
because of the speed. I'm thinking 2-1, maybe 2-2 for a draw.
Yeah. I do know
Um,
that Maurice doesn't stall much, so
no,
a lot of his games could be a high scoring game.
right?
I think that I could see a 2-2. I could see a 2-2 draw. Um,
Yeah,
both of these teams have the capability to score pretty quickly. Um,
that's right.
I think one thing that I would do if I was the Prowlers is obviously take this Rat Ogre down because I mean the Frenzy's something that's just a pain. Take the Rat Ogre down, foul it off with a zombie, and if you get a chance to get one of these blitzers on the ground, then I'd probably foul them too. Obviously, you'd foul a gutter runner if you got the chance, but knocking them down with blodge is going to be tough with no tackle. But
Right.
I think you'll be able to get these three players on the ground at least 1 point, and I probably would take a foul on them. Even if it just stuns them to take them out for a turn, it's probably worth it.
I've
Um,
I've found that Blodge is good um, when it's a one die. If
yeah,
somebody gets two dies, gosh, I don't know how many times I've told people I don't even know why I take Blodge
blodge.
because yeah, when someone two dies me with Blodge, it's inevitable they get a pal.
Yep. I've gotten the same recently. Like, I think the
So
thing that gets me, I think Jack, I was playing Jack, and he one died my blodger, and he powed him. And I was like, that shouldn't happen. Like, it shouldn't happen like that. Like, I
yeah,
get it. It's cool, but like,
well if you tell Maurice that, he's gonna do it.
he's going to do
So
it. So I think Maurice needs to only roll 5 pluses. And, so like I said, I think it's a tie. You're giving it to the Skaven. I could see that too, but just for the fun of it,
yeah.
I'll pick tie just so we have some different results here.
Now
Um,
with that said, I'm not slighting Eric in the least. I just think gutter runners are just so hard to keep down.
yeah,
Um, so but then again, we'll see.
I
It
mean, yeah,
it's
he'll need to use what's this guy's name? Von Wigglebutt. He'll need to
yeah,
use Von Wigglebutt as like a kind of a safety because I mean he's
right.
got movement 8. He's a blodger, so he's dodging out on 8 out of 9 times he's going to make it. Um, I think he needs to be there to help catch a gutter runner if he needs to. The main
Yeah,
thing I see people do is they chase gutter runners because I mean a lot of people run gutter runners deep, and some people will chase them early on. And really, you don't want to do that. I mean, if Skaven want to score on you in 2 turns in the first half, let them, and then you just work them for the next 14 turns of the game. You got the ball and you're working them the whole time. So I think it's one of those things where, yeah, probably turn 4 or 5, something like that. Worry about those gutter runners that are running deep. But when it's early on, I would almost just take the man advantage and fight on the line and let him score if he needs to.
right.
So, all right. So going to the next one here. Oh, I thought I was going to the next one. How do I get back from here? There we go. Next one is Talbot Valley Titans and the Box Art Barons. So the Titans have had some injuries. They're without their star thrower who got busted up with an 8 plus an armor reduction. So not going to have the throwing capacity they're used to having. Not even going to have a thrower at all. It looks like. Um, Tons of guard, frenzy, mighty blow, tackle guard. I mean, 4 guarders is going to be tough to deal with. Still got some blodge steppers as far as catchers go, obviously this one got busted up, lost his. One of these got busted up and lost their movement. I can't remember which one, but one of them got busted up. I gotta think it's this one right here, Gonzalo, because he's got 4 skill ups or 3 skill ups, but only 2 skills here. So Gonzalo lost his movement.
He got +1 movement and then he lost a movement. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, he was movement 9, and then he got busted down to 8.
That's right. Yep.
Um, full lineup of blitzers. Albert Rothman, which is the big hitter, 12 casualties for them, will be playing. So 1240 against 1245. Both these teams aren't going to get any inducements. We got 3 guard against 4 guard. Um, the benefit here is this guard has wrestle stand firm versus the other guard just has block. Um, Noble blitzer with blodge, but he's hurt, so kind of a risk there. Imperial thrower, so 3 rerolls with the leader. They both have an ogre that's unskilled. So with that, what do we think's going to happen here?
I think movement 8 is going to be hard for
The
those guys to
Bears to
overcome.
stop. Yeah, I get that. Even with the one
I mean,
blodger, I mean, their other blitzers not blodging. The blodge step with no tackle. The only thing that could be their saving grace is if they could get a bodyguard out to wrestle down a catcher.
yeah.
That's probably the only thing that's going to help them.
Well, I mean, just looking at it on paper, you've got a cage midfield,
Hmm.
and then he's going to be able to squirt out.
Right. And the big thing, the only thing that I think um, may help Gerard in this case is the fact that Fluff only plays this like human passing offense. I don't know if you've watched him play, but he
Yeah,
relies really heavily on Cannoneer doing, 2+ rerollable passes to these catchers. Um, and without that thrower, he's going to be one short of sure hand, so that might eat one of his rerolls that he didn't expect. Might slow down his offensive turn, and then obviously he's going to have to play a little different. He's going to have to play more of a handoff offense, probably closer to what Skaven are used to doing, or so than
yeah,
what he's been playing humans as. So it might mess with his play style a little bit when things aren't working, but I think this one's probably 2-0. I'm gonna give it to
yeah.
Fluff here.
I was thinking that maybe even a 3-0, because don't forget Fluffy's an old Skaven player.
Yeah, yeah. So he may
Um,
play better this way rather than the way he's been trying to make humans play.
yeah, if he changes up and plays the Skaven way, um, I mean it's going to be tough.
Yep.
Uh, but not discounting Gerard's team. The Imperial Nobility, um,
Good pitch
they can
control.
deny positioning. Yeah, they get pitch control. If he positions properly, he could contain him. I don't know how much offense Gerard's going to be able to get against Fluff.
Yeah.
Those 4 blitzers look nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So I could see a 2-0. So
Gotcha. Yep. Next up, we have Salt Life Corn against Chaos Chosen, Travis's team. Both these teams have 2 losses this season. Salt Life's gone a win. It's being played in summer weather, so potential for sweltering heat, which could obviously have a big impact on a game. Um, Salt Life is rocking a Blood Spawn, 2 Blood Seekers, 2 Corngors, so a little weaker up front line, but they do have the big guy with Juggernaut Break Tackle, which is really scary. 2+ Dodger. Um, and the Maulers have a good amount of skills, more than I thought they had. They do have a Minotaur, but he's agility 5, so he's been busted up a little bit. Passing 5, tackle, wrestle, sure hands, block, sure hands down here. Couple sure hands guys, still 11 though. They do have all 4 chosen blockers in the Minotaur, so the Maulers are, I think, up front the stronger team. Um, I mean, they got 10 plus 1, so they're going to get a 50K. So that's what, 1130 versus 1170. So 40K inducements, not enough for a babe. I don't know. This one could be close. I think this one may be. I haven't seen Travis play since he's come back. Um, so I can't really count that. I mean, they struggled to stop the Skaven. They got beat up real bad by Tomb Kings. Did okay versus Norse. Whereas the Corn, their last three games, uh, you know, they struggled to contain the Prowlers. They beat up Norse better than the Chosen, and then lost to Fluff, which is a redraft team. So I kind of
Um,
I kind of want to just say, based on how I've seen them play these last three games, I would give this win to Salt Life, and I'd just probably say it's like 1-0.
yeah,
Uh,
I think that's pretty good. But Travis played really well in his last game against the Norse.
mm-hmm.
I could see this being another 1-1 game.
A 1-1. Okay,
I could see Travis coming out with another draw.
I could see that. I mean, he's definitely stronger. I mean, the Minotaur blitzing a Bloodspawn, maybe knocking it out.
Right.
Something like that. If you take out the one strong guy he's got a distinct strength advantage over this team.
I think if Travis is selective where he puts the Minotaur and where he blitzes with the Minotaur and doesn't get him into trouble, I think he would have a distinct advantage.
Yeah, I guess the
But
other thing is the strength here. I mean, like if a Bloodseeker goes against a chosen blocker, they're going to have to be really conscious of their frenzy. Otherwise, they'll find themselves in a one die or maybe even a
yep,
two die uphill if they're not careful because of the strength of the blockers around them.
right. It comes down to the experience that
Yeah,
Nicholas has with frenzy
yep,
because that's a tough thing to come up, to learn.
yep.
Um, so
Um,
I could see this as I'm saying it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
okay, and I had the 1-0 with Salt Life. So, all right, last game of the week: Thunder Mountain Rampage, Fuzzy Teeth Fingerlings. And I have to say, probably the dwarves are anxious to get a hold of AV 8 plus armor. But
Yeah, I can hear Mark licking his chops from here.
yeah, so Mark's team's, obviously built like a traditional dwarf team. Does he have a journeyman? He will get a journeyman for 70K. Yeah, 70. That puts him at 1250. Four guard, three mighty blow. I don't know, nine blockers or something like that. A whole bunch. A block. Um, Against Fuzzy Teeth Fingerlings, uh, down in linemen, but they're going to have a full 11. Two Frenzy Block Ulfwereners, two Berserkers with Mighty Blow. Everything else is fresh, including two Beer Boars that may meet a sad end this week.
Yes, I see this. I
100K, what could you get with 100K? I mean, I don't think you get anything yet.
nah,
He's going to have
probably.
some inducements, though. What did I say? Mark was at 1250? 1250, 1030, 220. That's probably for something pretty decent. Who did he take? He took Favorite of, so he's stuck with the Chaos guys. So that kind of hurts him a little bit because I think the Old World guys are better. Would I say
Yeah,
220? I mean, he could
yeah.
take Hackflim, but Hackflim's just not going to be great against all of that. Glart
No,
would be
Mark.
really good. Glart would be a good pick because Glart's got claws, he's got block, Juggernaut, stand firm, he's strength 4. But he is only
Yeah,
9 plus armor. But Glart would be a good pick. I don't really like Withergrass for this one. Creek probably not worth it, although he'd probably do some damage. I just don't like star players, and especially ones without block that just could get blocked down pretty easily.
yeah, because the Norris is a very favorable matchup versus dwarves. They do everything that Norris does well
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
Um, So I Mark has a very distinct advantage in this.
Yeah. I don't think there's much
So
that'll help him. I mean, you could take. I think he would have been better off had he had access to the Old World Classic guys because you could have gotten Ivar, the other bomber dude. I think the star players in non-favorite of are better. I think if I was him, I would take Glart. One that's a 12th player plus it's a claws player with block. So maybe
yeah,
you'd eat up a couple dwarves with him, but that'll give you four or three strength four guys to go up
he
against.
he might do better to just go with the kegs. And
Hope that it just gets KOs instead of
yeah,
deads.
yeah,
Yeah,
because that's going to be another thing. If Mark's not cracking armor, he's going to be knocking people out.
right.
Um, I mean, yeah, that Slayer is
Yeah,
really looking to do some damage this week.
yeah,
So I could see this. I could see this a 3-0. I really think the Dwarves are gonna get healthy this
yeah,
week on this game.
yeah,
No slight to the Norris team, but it's a very bad matchup
yeah.
for
I
him.
was gonna say 2-0 just because I didn't think they could score that much, but I
I
think that it's a definite win for
I
Mark.
think 3-0 because Mark is definitely goes for it with his
Oh,
runners,
okay,
and he is fearless with going for it. So I could see him really scoring.
okay,
Um, so I'm looking at a 3-0 here.
okay. All right.
So
Well, that'll do it for this week. So that is our roundup for this week. Bob, I guess before we go, how have you liked the season so far and coaching Underworld for a second time?
I'm having a great time this season. I've noticed even though I do have a return team, the dynamic is different. This year there's a whole lot more bash.
Right.
So that, and I think people are actually doing a lot better positioning in the first three games opposed to last season. I think Underworld was one of those teams people didn't have much experience playing against, so they didn't really know how to take it.
Right.
And then now they saw what kind of offense that team can produce. They're playing it a little bit more off the line opposed to what they were doing.
Yeah.
So I've noticed a shift in that way, but I'm enjoying it. I think Underworld's a lot of fun. It's definitely a different spin on the game. Um, I I've enjoyed developing the team, and at this point, I think this will probably be my last season with them.
Sure.
But but yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun up to this point.
Very cool.
I'm looking forward to see how far I can take them. So
Yeah. Be good. All right. Well, you guys heard from Bob this week, and we'll try and bring on another coach for the next round. I guess, Bob, I'll see you Saturday at Big Lick. I got a bunch of prep to do. I got to package up 75 swag bags, so that's going to take most of
uh,
my night tonight. So,
that'll be fun. So
yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks everybody for this week. Good luck in your matches, and we'll talk soon.